Hey, what's going on? What's going on? My main man, Dwight Sandlin. I cannot believe I am here in an unscripted season 4 with one of my favorite people on the planet. We've known each other for about 15, 16, 17 years. And welcome to Unscripted.
Thank you. I am really honored to be here. I've always been a fan of you, a fan of ARC, and what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing incredible things.
Well, I just so appreciate you and your wife, Sandy. And I got to give a little intro on how we met. Dwight is an incredible leader of a great company. It's making a huge difference. And his wife, Sandy, was in our church in Baton Rouge,
right,
and was just a top real estate blessing, made a big difference to single moms and to people all over that community. And we were doing things together, and she grabbed me one day after church. I'll never forget, it was after church. And she said, I am engaged, and I want you to meet this man that I'm about to marry. And I first said, well, he can't take you away. And she said, he's a Birmingham man. And so you came down, we met, and I got to marry you and Sandy.
You did. It was great.
What's the next anniversary?
December 17th.
And it will be year?
18.
Year 18. So we've known each other 18 years. But so appreciate you and your wife. And when we moved to Birmingham, you were the first people we called when we were moving, because you guys are just amazing, developing communities. So thank you so much. You've been a good friend.
And you as well.
And you and your wife have been so generous, and you've made such a huge difference, whether it's at our church or the college or through Servolution or through ARC. So I just so appreciate you. Thank you for giving me some time.
My pleasure.
Because I love talking to leaders.
Okay.
And I love talking to people who have built things, who build teams, who build people. Tell me a little bit about, give me a little bit about who you are and what got you into home building and developing communities and now leading this huge organization called Signature Homes.
I am I lived in Birmingham my whole life. I was a banker for 15 years. And at age 35, I just made the decision that I wanted to start my own home building company. So at age 35, I started a prior company that I sold.
New career at 35.
New career at 35. Wow. And I figured at that time, if truly, I had 3 jobs to that point, and I figured most people go broke in 5 years. So I figured that I'd go broke, and then could go back being a banker.
Yeah.
But if it made it, we would be good. We've collectively built the company Signature Homes, and we build here in Birmingham and in Nashville, and we'll do about 450 homes this year.
Wow.
And collectively, we've done about 15,000 homes.
15,000 homes.
Of the year, yeah.
Building homes, guiding team, selling homes, putting people in their dream.
That's our plan.
Yeah, I love that. We were talking earlier, and you were talking about what you do and what you're about, and I think it has so much to do with so many things. Whether you're a church planner, or you're in ministry, or you're a mom that has a little business, or you're just trying to build a family, build a life. And when you were talking about what you did, you really didn't talk about kind of the hammer and the nail. You talked way more about experience, that you offer experience, that you put people in community. Talk a little bit about that, because I think it helps us to see what we do in a bigger idea, in a bigger world.
First of all, there's a lot of great home builders in this city and in this country.
Sure.
So the way we felt like the differentiation is the experience. And so what we do is we buy a piece of land and develop that land. We do all the home building ourselves there. And the idea is that when you come into the community, that you feel very comfortable, kind of like coming to a great church.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. You want it very nice. And then from that, what we found out over the years, we started probably 15 years ago, thinking about, okay, how do we get better? And what we decided that it was about the experience of a home building, not the building itself, because it's intimidating to most folks. It's hard. So our mission was to try to enhance the experience of building, and if the experience of building was good, then that their customers would be happy from that. And what I'm very pleased to say is that we're our referral rate, which means that people buy
Yeah,
again
that's huge.
or someplace else, is over 50%. So and we measure that very carefully.
Right.
We measure our customer sat very, very carefully during the process.
That is all that so relates. I mean,
It does.
It's
It truly does.
welcoming.
It does.
Experience.
Yep.
Atmosphere. Referral. I mean, that is church.
Right.
That is life. That is building. You know, you've been named one of the top 25 CEOs in Birmingham area. And so, because you lead a big organization, I mean, there's a lot of team, a lot of moving parts. When I think about building 450 homes in a year, I mean, I think about all those shovels and all that concrete and all that sheetrock and all those shingles. I mean, the ordering, the subs, I mean, you're every day working through team and working through leadership. We were talking earlier. You always help me every time we get together. I'm learning. And you talked a lot about leadership and a lot about team.
Right.
I didn't hear you say shingles and sheetrock.
No.
You know that's the end result, but you talked about team and leaders. Tell me a little bit about your thought on building team and pouring into leaders or raising up leaders, which you've had to do all these years.
The aspects of, no, it's not about shingles and it's not about any of that other stuff. It's about developing people. And I would like to tell you that I am a master at that, but I'm not. I'm not. But what I know for absolute certainty is that leadership are the people that really care about our customer. And if I develop people who doesn't focus on that ultimate goal of taking care of that customer is okay. And we're not perfect. I can tell you, we make lots of mistakes. But the aspects of the leadership of those people is the driving factor of success of not just home building, but churches, other things.
Yeah.
It's all about leadership. It's all about people who truly care.
It's interesting and so creating that culture where you care, and then being able to, because I mean that all people, they want to know you care about me, you see me, you notice me,
Right.
I matter to you,
Right.
And so being able, so how do you do that? Because with a big organization, over 100 employees, how do you do that like in a system or a process? Tell me about the training and the disseminating of care, value, culture. How does that work for you as someone who's a CEO and you've been doing it this long?
Culture trumps everything. But that's a pretty easy thing to say.
Right.
I listen to John Maxwell. He talks about culture all the time. He talks about leadership. But the issue is leadership cannot exist without absolute clarity of expectations. Right. So when we go through a process, we measure everything. We have metrics on everything we do, because if we don't know if we're going in the right direction. Any given day, we probably got 1,000 people on our job site.
Wow.
So, and the lowest...
And at all different stages.
All different stages and all different all vocations of life. Some matter a lot. Some just want to come and do a day's work and go home. Sure. So that's whom we do. But the aspects of, I don't think any leadership, I don't think any culture, I don't think any positive organization can ever not measure exactly, first of all, not just measure, but completely understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And if like in home building, if your goal is to make more money, you're going to lose. You're going to lose.
Wow.
Because making more money doesn't mean you take care of the customer. Taking care of the customer ultimately means the maximizing of profits, because you have repeat customers and you have customers that trust you. But without complete metrics, without complete understanding of what the expectation is, and knowing that every day, those metrics are every day, you can't run a company, you can't run anything.
Yeah, it's interesting because if I don't know how to what if I don't have my expectation? You don't tell my expectation, then everybody gets frustrated.
Right.
What's your expectation of me? Sometimes, why is it you think leaders? I've seen this with church planners. I've seen this with pastors. I've seen this with everybody. Sometimes people feel bad about giving people expectations. It's like they feel like, well, I don't want to push. I don't, just everybody do. But nothing's going to get accomplished if we don't draw a circle and say that's where we're aiming at.
Most folks want to be liked.
Oh, there we go.
And I mean, so do I.
That was unscripted.
So do you. We all want to be liked.
Yeah.
So consequently, the thought process is, well, they know what I'm talking about. I can feel it. No, they don't. Unless you say, we're going to build a house in 102 days from the day we start this, and here's the schedule as to how that's done.
Yeah.
And unless you say these are the things, and here's how we're going to treat our customer, here's the customer interactions, unless you have all those. But what happens, the biggest thing that I see is the most frustrated. We have different teams in each community, so each team is a subset of our company.
Right.
So because what happens in Nashville doesn't affect what happens in Hoover, Alabama. So the idea is keep it consistent, whether it's in Nashville or Hoover, because people like to be treated properly. But what we found is the people that are most frustrated when you have the direct reports, they're the people that report to the people who don't set clear expectations for them because they don't know what to expect.
It's like no clarity.
There's no clarity.
Yeah.
And the idea of leaders is, I don't want to be pushy. But you don't have to be pushy. You just simply say down and say, this is what I want to accomplish. Yeah. But when you say that, you don't just go that in your own ivory tower. You go out and you solicit those folks that are working with you and make sure, here's my thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, we talked earlier about asking questions.
Yeah, great. Maxwell talks about that. He said the level of a great leader is the level of good questions he asks. That's what Maxwell says, and I think Maxwell's probably the smartest leadership guy I know.
Well, Pastor Chris, he's your pastor, he's mine. He's always talking about clarity. Does everybody know what we're doing? Mm-hmm. Does everybody know what this is about? Mm-hmm. Let's over-communicate. Let's keep it simple. Here's where we're all headed. And so, we talk about our growth track. We talk about our steps. If someone was to say to you, tell me what Signature Homes is about, or vision, mission statement, what is that thing that you say to people? Here's what we do. Here's what we're about. Because I think it helps people clarify, because fuzzy doesn't work. You talked about being clear. When it's all said and done, this is what we've tried to accomplish.
Pretty simple. At the end of the day, if we accomplish great neighborhoods that people live in, the coolest thing, best part of my job, the best part of my job is to go to any of our communities that we've done at Christmas or at 4th of July or at Thanksgiving and watch the people. Some of the people don't know us at all. They're second and third generations of those houses. But the idea of being able to create a location in which people can have neighbors and get together and have a true enrich their life. That's kind of what I think my mission is. And I know that sounds silly, but
no, it's not.
But it really is cool to sit there and look, and you see those people go by, and you say they don't know who I am, and they don't care who I am. They don't need to know who I am. It's just they're enjoying their life, and we all have great thought process. Not all. The people that have great families and have lived in homes that are good have great memories of growing up. So the idea is not only can we affect that generation that we sell to, but we can affect those future generations of having great places to grow up.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Unscripted. We just want to take a brief moment to say thank you so much to Master's Plan for making this episode possible. I'll tell you something about Master's Plan. This is a national partner to churches who are looking to renovate, expand, repurpose a building, relocate, start a new campus, or build a new construction. They will be with you from the very first moment that you discover the need to the first Sunday of celebrating what God has done in the dedication of a new space. And they have a successful history in designing and completing projects under budget. It's hard to believe 100% of the time, but it's true. They also have a free resource called Master's Plan University to educate you on the building process. This is super important. Make sure to check them out on our website, arcchurches.com, partners, to learn more about all that they do for us. You see yourself as, everything you do as unto the Lord. And I talk to people constantly. I'm at churches, and you see somebody serving in one area, and they've got destination disease. They can't wait to get to this area, or they're in this role. But when I get to this role, I'll really excel. And if I could do this, then I'd make a big difference. If I could do this, I'd make a big difference. It's like, why don't you start now? Why don't you walk in joy now? Let's love life now. Let's make a difference, whether you're waiting tables or whether you're in the kitchen preparing the food, or whether you own the restaurant, or whether you're laying the sod or growing the sod or walking on the sod. I mean, it comes a point in your life where you do embrace, hey, I'm making a difference because of what God has done in me and the gift on me. Right. And then I get to express that, whether I'm a nurse or I'm making cupcakes or I'm fixing cars. I mean, you've embraced that in your life.
Right. The one thing Sandy and I would say that more than likely 5 days out of 7, what we talk about is gratitude. Just plain gratitude for now. God didn't create this company. We created, me and my partners, Sandy, and we created this company. But God gave us the opportunity. Wow. And I'm so, because I'm 71. I'm 71 years old now. And I like being 71. I don't like my bones I don't like any of that. But looking back over the years, I've seen where God gave me opportunities that I took. But I would have never had those opportunities without God. So mine and Sandy's, a lot of our conversation is gratitude. And I'm the 1 Year Bible. I read that every morning, and I can tell you every morning, the final thing I do is say, "Hey God, thanks."
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. My life's not perfect, and my prayers. Typically, my prayers not real specific. My prayers are, God, grant me wisdom. Grant me wisdom to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And he's not always 100%. He doesn't do too many memos. So you got to listen. But my prayers, give me the wisdom to hear what you're saying and to interact with other people in a good way. Yeah. I don't do it. I can tell you, I fall short lots and lots and lots of times.
But you guys interact with people. I've been around your team.
Yeah.
They're top tier.
They are top tier.
So how have you attracted top tier leaders? Team.
You can ask anybody in our company, and it's very clear. We're a tough company to work for. We don't make any bones about that. It's a high expectation, and basically, people who have high expectations want around other people that have high expectations. And typically, if you have slaggers that come around, our folks will push them out. So leadership, greatness creates more greatness, and folks. So over time. Like I said, we're not easy to work for. We set up expectations, and you meet them. And if you don't meet them, you can't work there. Our turnover is very light. We have very light turnover. When
I've been around your team, you see those
same people,
those top tier performers. They've been there. Because you guys, you want everybody to win. That's the one thing you do feel like when you're around your team, everybody's winning.
Right.
And you and Sandy's heart is, hey, if the water's going up, all the boats are rising.
That's right. That's exactly right. But again, I know it sounds really, I don't mean to be redundant, but clarity is the key there. Here's what you're expected. And what I find, what's really interesting is when you set goals and you set really significant goals, winners like to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Losers don't.
Sure. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because winners say, hey, look what I did. And it's their own self-ego that feels good.
That's true.
When somebody's trying to run away from what the expectations are, they don't feel good about themselves.
It's not I mean, nobody said it was easy to run an organization, to grow an organization, but whether it's to build a company, to plant a church, to lead something, to sustain something. It's not easy, but when you're called, and we were talking earlier, you and I asked you a question, and you said, well, what do you want it to be? What do you want to do? What is in your heart to do?
Right.
I mean, it does boil down to what has God called you to do? How has God equipped you? And being true to that. And we talked earlier about being passionate.
Right.
That is a big difference to you.
It's a huge
And what
difference.
you're building, what you're doing right now is you're looking for passionate leaders. So tell me about how that works, or how do you know you've got one, and how do you keep a passionate leader in the company?
Passion is not a learned event. Either you are passionate or you're not. And what's pretty simple, like if I have a young person that comes and says, I really want to grow, I want to be a leader. And I'll offer my door, say,
Sure.
Come, I'll talk to you. And what's so interesting is when they say, I really want to grow, I say, here's John Maxwell's books, about leadership.
Let's go.
When you've read it, come back and talk to me. And I don't set a date. So what I find very easily is that if they don't come back, I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time trying to grow them as leaders.
Right.
So one of the biggest things I think at a corporate level is, who do you spend your time with? Do you spend the time with the people that just kind of get by?
Right.
Or do you spend time trying to pour yourself into those people who really are passionate about?
Yeah.
So the more you can, the people that don't want to play, they don't fire them. I don't mean that, but just from the standpoint of, I've got a few folks in our company who I try my best to pour in all the time, because I know they won't.
Yeah, they're making a difference.
They want to. No, it is a difference. Not just what I find too. The biggest, greatest leaders, unequivocally the greatest leaders, are more servant leaders.
Wow.
Than
God, that's good.
If you,
that's the Bible.
The Bible is common sense. It's what the Bible is. When you go down to the Ten Commandments and you look at Christ's teachings, it's not real complicated.
Yeah.
It really isn't complicated. So if you are truly a servant leader, and so many people get confused with that, because it's about, I'm doing it for, no, you're not. You're doing it for yourself. Mm. If you truly want to grow and grow your people, be a servant leader.
Yeah.
And because if you're a servant leader, folks will respond to you. If you are doing it, I promise you, as a leader, if your first thought is, how do I look? You're not a good leader.
Yeah. I remember being it was your 70th
Mm-hmm.
party.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
And you had some of your team was there, and family, and you spent most of the time thanking people. And acknowledging, loving. I don't think there was anybody in the room you did not acknowledge, and it was your night. I mean, Sandy created a great night for you, but you were conscious of everyone else. And so the idea of being a servant leader,
it wasn't my night. It was their night.
Exactly.
It was a deal where you say, these are great people. I want to make sure they understand. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. What makes Sandy? I wish everybody could meet your wife.
Yeah,
because Sandy's special.
Sandy's very special.
Sandy is. I mean,
she's a lot smarter than I am.
She's walked through her life, and man, she was a blessing to us as a church, and in Baton Rouge. And Sandy was a big deal in Baton Rouge, man. Everybody knew. She did some innovative stuff that I don't know if anybody ever done before.
Right.
When it came to real estate and building and things like that. But she knows how to light up a room.
She does.
And she knows how to make people feel loved and valued.
She does.
I don't know if there's a better real estate experience. I don't even know what you would describe her as. I mean, she's co-owner, she's your partner, but what makes her great in her field?
Really simple. She cares about her people. I mean, truly,
Yeah.
Sandy's
Never met a stranger.
No, but the aspect of the agents that work in our company, we don't have any turnover in our company. But she gets very, very specific with them. She has one-on-ones with them religiously, and one of the things that she does, particularly with the younger girls, she's been there before. So her life is not about. It sounds really silly, but if she can enhance their lives, they will sell better. Because if
adding value to them,
adding value to them, and adding value to them, noticing they don't notice her, they love her. That much more than they do me, and I don't mean that silly, but Sandy just really cares about how they feel and how they can grow, and gives them life experience about when I had Will and what I did, and it's not teaching from a book. But other side of that equation is this: you said learning. There's not a day that goes by that Sandy isn't listening to a podcast somewhere.
Yeah.
There's not a single day.
She's a lifelong learner.
She's a lifelong learner. And then what she does is she synthesizes what she hears from that's best, and then gives that to the agents. And she'll send the podcast so she wants them to grow and wants them to learn. But it's more about growing them than growing sales. If you grow them, and I would perceive that the same in the church.
100%.
If you pull up to the church and it feels great, and you walk in, I walked in here today, and Debbie met me in the front with a big smile, and it made me feel very comfortable when I walked in the door. That's not an accident. It's not an accident.
Yeah.
How you treat people, and it becomes. And if everybody's grumpy and fussy,
bad mood.
It will show when you walk in. So
that's so true.
So the aspect of how you treat people, and the thing about treating people, that sounds, that's fine. Be nice. No, it's not that. It's a system.
Yeah.
It's a system. How do you specifically talk to people? What is your plan when they walk in the door? How do you greet them? How do you make them feel comfortable quickly so they're willing to talk? And so the whole mission of selling is asking questions. What's your needs? What do you need to have? And that's what she's great at.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who owned a mattress store.
Uh-huh.
And I remember going and talking to him one day, and I was like, hey, so Matt, he said, no. He said, when somebody comes in, I start asking them about how they sleep. Mm-hmm. How do they like their pillow? How do they like their covers? And he said, I'm trying to find out about how they sleep. The mattress will come alongside of the sleeping.
That's exactly right.
And it was like, I get that. And that's what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Is, ask good questions, find out about them. If you see this, whether it's in companies or business or even in churches, if you just if you're letting anybody fend for themselves, it's not going to go well.
It isn't.
If there's not an intentional system plan of span of care, of being able to be kind, be helpful, then to be understanding, then it's not going to go well for you long.
And be genuine.
Yeah, genuine. That's so important.
If the thing is, I'm going to do this so I can get a sale out of you, or I'm going to do this because somebody told me at church that I should be a warm greeter. If they don't really want to, if it's not genuine, it shows really, really quickly, and people know that.
Yeah. I always want to ask you this question. This is it's unscripted, so you don't know this one is coming.
Okay.
When you look at a piece of land, and you see a community, vision. So tell me about vision. I mean, I know you have architects, you have engineers, you've been doing it for a long time, you've built 15,000 homes. I've always thought, I think it's fascinating that the gift that is on a developer's life, where they can look at rock, trees, hills, creek, dirt in the wrong place. In Birmingham, maybe some granite, some stone, and you think, oh, we'll put a road there, put a lake there. It's just vision to see something that's nothing, and to take it from nothing to something. Tell me about your experience, and because I know how much you enjoy that. When you walked in, you were talking about you're 71, you've never been more excited.
I love what I do. I genuinely love what I do.
And so tell me, give me that for a moment, because that just interests me.
It's not what you think at all. The aspect of making a successful community starts off with market research. Because if we're great at market research, we're great.
Explain market research, because I think this can help a church planner.
It is the same thing.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're coaching people right now.
Exactly the same thing. What we do is pretty simple, but it's very effective. What we do is we look at how many, typically in our world, it's driven by schools. So absolutely, because our average price is $700,000 in Birmingham. So we appeal to a fairly affluent customer. Affluent customers want their kids to go to good schools. So if we go to a place that has a bad school system, we don't even look. It doesn't matter how beautiful the property is. So from that, we go say, okay.
So it's a lot of demographics you're looking at.
It is,
and
but
then
it's really simple. It's not. When we first got started, I would go get studies done and all this other stuff, and they would give me a book about that thick.
Now it can be this thick.
It's not even that. It really boils down to how many sales have occurred in that price range in the last 3 years to establish, is there a demand for this product in this price range? And then at that point, we go backwards. And
so you're going backwards.
You start at the retail end and say, okay, can we sell 500,000 houses in this neighborhood, 300,000 or $1.2 million, whatever it is, but we start with the end game in mind, and because we have enough information in our own book. To use your playbook you talk about, our playbook is we know if we're going to build 2,500 square feet of this, it's going to be about this much money. So
you could put this many homes in that community.
No, not yet.
Okay.
You don't know that yet, because you can't eyeball that any more than you can eyeball where a church should go.
I got you. You're still figuring it out.
So the whole win is on the research. Then at that point, the win says this should work based on what we know, and then we go backwards and say, okay, if we can sell it for $500,000, our house cost us $300,000. Roads cost us $150. Then we can pay this much money for the land. And we make some assumptions on the land, looking at that land and with the vision of that ain't me. Contrary to what you think, that ain't me. Jonathan, my business partner, is that guy. But more than anything else, it's about how you assimilate. We know we take the topo and we can assimilate how it's going to work, but it's driven. The houses that we create are driven by the market research. Wow. You start with the end, and then at that point, if we go through all that and say, okay, so the price of this piece of property is $3 million. We can get 300 units out of that, so that's so much per blank.
Sure.
So once you've gotten all that stuff back, then you say, okay, I can pay $3 million for this property, or I can pay $2.5 million. So in making the decision, you always start at the end who your customer is. Who's going to be your customer?
I love that.
Who's going to think about living here? Why would they be here? How much competition is there? Is there somebody down the road that... And our position is somebody's down the road that's doing a great job, we leave it alone. Because we don't think...
Get you some space.
Well, the issue is...
Get you a little room.
Yeah, but what we know is there's no magic in building houses. We think we do a good job, but there's no magic. We don't build magical homes. So the aspects of if there's already people there meeting that need, then let's go somewhere else.
I 100% agree.
Let's go somewhere else. Let's
location
location's about, it is huge, but it's not location. It's demographics of who's going to be there.
Yeah.
In our mind, we know what we can build.
Yeah.
And the question is, what amenity levels do we want in there? What are the other things? Why should you? Our position is when we finish our demographics and our study, we say, if I was going to buy a house in this area, I would buy here. And if we can't come to that conclusion, then we don't want that neighborhood.
When we talk about that demographics, because we'll talk to planters and they'll be going into a city. And it's like, man, and they go somewhere and it just feels good. Or, man, I think I like this spot. And it's like, okay, have you done the demographics? Have you started from the end and went backwards? Have you thought, is there anybody else already providing that exact same thing? Mm-hmm. So I've lately been telling a lot of church planners, get you a little room, get you some space. You don't want to launch a church on top of someone else that's just launched a church.
Right.
You don't want to be right there, do the work, because all you talked about, that's some work. You've had to figure some things out. Do your due diligence so that when you do come to that end result or that decision, you know that you've been a good steward of the data or the information you have. And you've come to the best conclusion.
And the aspect of some of the best deals we've made are not at all. Because when we look at the data, we say, we can't get this price enough, or there's just not enough demand for this. So I would think that's something like a church. If you're going to plant a church, why would they come to your church? Is there other great churches in the areas? What do you serve differently? And the one thing I know is we make our decisions off of logic. When you say, I got this gut feeling, I don't buy gut feelings. Gut feelings is just a summary of all your experiences, but they're never...
Yeah, it's not a gut.
It's not a gut.
Yeah.
We know...
it's a timeline almost.
We know if we build in this school system, we're going to have market acceptance. And if we go into this school system, we won't. So we don't go into that school system.
How did you handle, because there's been downturns. And sometimes there's dips. Give me a moment where you went through a dip or a downturn and how you weathered the team, you made it through it. I mean, your faith in God, your family, you have experience, but like a downturn happens, what is some wisdom? How could you help someone right now that says, hey, you know what, there is going to be a valley. There could be a moment where what you're expecting is going to happen doesn't.
Right.
And it goes, you hit a crisis. How have you navigated a crisis?
First of all, you don't blame God.
Amen.
Because it rains on all of us. Yeah. Okay, so God just creates the universe, and we choose how to live in it. In 2008 and 2009, when the market 75% of the builders our size in Birmingham went broke, except for us. And what it really was the hard part at that point, we couldn't find the bottom. No matter how deep we went, it just kept getting worse every day, kept getting worse.
And it went on for how long?
5 years.
5 years.
We built $450 million of houses to break even because we couldn't make money. And we had land that we had to absorb, and the land had. So at that point, just go to your gut. and say, I want this more than I want to fail. And it was really hard. And God gave us the ability to, what we did was real simple. At that point, we were in multiple communities. We sold a bunch of houses in those years. But what we did was this. The smell of death was in every other community we had. So we decided that we're going to separate ourselves. We can't raise the price, but when you go into our community, you're not going to be worried about foreclosures. So what we did was we paid more attention to our landscaping. We paid more attention to the maintenance of our model. We paid more attention to those things so that when you would go to another place that was $50,000 cheaper, they would come and say, yeah, we can buy your house, but it's $50,000 cheaper. And I said, true. But do you really want to live in a neighborhood with a bunch of, more foreclosures coming in and you don't know where the bottom's going to be? So when you go through a tough time, being analytic, it's, the world's not fair. Things aren't right. This shouldn't happen this way. It's the bank's fault. It's somebody else's fault. And you go, and that's my fault. I should have been smarter than this. I wasn't. Here's where I am. And the biggest thing there is where you're going.
Yeah. It's so good.
Don't beat yourself up over making the mistakes that you make. How do I get out of this? What am I doing now to get better? And sometimes it just takes absolutely gutting it out, but not feeling sorry for yourself.
Right.
Because if you really feel sorry for yourself and say, woe is me, why did God let this happen?
It's almost like you took a bad situation and you still tried to make them strong, like going into a subdivision saying, let's make the landscape, let's make sure our streets are clean, let's do this. Even though it's a tough situation, let's still almost see it from a place of strength other than of weakness.
What we have learned is this. Going into that, we weren't as metrics driven on some of the smaller stuff.
Right.
We didn't pay attention to our cleanup, our other stuff. We cut almost $1 million of overhead just with stuff that when we started really measuring it.
Right.
So so what I will tell you about downturns, gut it out and you'll get better.
Right.
You will just be better because what you will learn is the mistakes you made.
Gosh.
But you will have the mistakes. I mean, there's not any church, there's not any...
You can't build anything without them.
You can't do it without making mistakes. So the idea... Now, I'm not saying, I've a lot about, you should be thankful for... No, you're not. No, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. It's no fun at all.
No, there was. I don't want to go through that again. I do not want to go through that again.
Yeah.
But the issue is we are a much better company.
Right.
Because what we learned from that was you can't go too deep in metrics. You cannot, things that if you don't have a line item for every expense that you have, and if you don't let things just kind of slide because it's kind of hard to measure these things, bring it back down.
It almost kind of can help you clean up the messy.
That's exactly what it was.
Things that get loose, get a little messy.
And we had what happened the year before in 2006. We had a record year, and we said, "Wow, ain't we smart?" Because the goals that's what John Maxwell says. A lot of times your goals aren't big enough.
Yeah.
So the goals that we set, we met, because the market gave us that.
Yeah.
The next year, when the market wasn't there, we cut a lot of expenses, not salaries, expenses that were just wasted.
Yeah.
That we weren't paying attention to when times were good.
That's so important. Not paying attention to it when
times get good, it becomes very easy to get a little lax and say we're doing good.
Yeah.
I don't have to ignore.
Take for granted.
Yep. Not take care of your customer, not take care of your people, not take care of something else because I'm doing. My church is growing.
Exactly.
I'm making money.
Yeah, we've got plenty of people.
We got and that can change rapidly.
Yeah. You can almost forget. We talk about even Highlands. Everywhere I go, I talk about this. You can't forget the one.
No.
All of a sudden, you count. Man, we got 100. You better be taking care of that one.
Mother Teresa said something. I think if you ever really want to really look true wisdom, go up and look at her quotes. And she said, you can't solve the world hunger problems of all the world hunger, but you can solve one.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. It's become so easy to start letting the edges go because you're doing really good, and all of a sudden the edges start weakening a little bit.
Yeah.
And don't worry, we got plenty. It's okay to do that. It's not okay.
I heard somebody, they say if you're not careful, success can get you sloppy.
Ooh, it will. Ooh, it really will.
Get sloppy.
And you start meeting your own press too.
Yeah.
And you say, wow.
I'm awesome.
The one thing God gave me was absolute humility. I am not impressed with me. I am not impressed with me. I'm very thankful for what I've had. I'm not impressed, because I look at a lot of people a whole lot better than what we do. I'm not impressed, but I'm in great gratitude.
Well, you can see that you and Sandy are some of the most generous people I've ever been around, and I'm grateful for it. I know so many people are, and we were even talking earlier, talking about this next season of your life, making sure that what you're building is impacting others, is giving them an opportunity,
right.
is expanding their life through your generosity and your wisdom in building a company. Why generosity's always been something that you've grown in it. Your relationship with Christ, Sandy. What have you learned?
I had great parents.
Oh, there we go.
They weren't educated. But they were fabulous people.
Wow.
And I remember my dad. Oh, talk about generous. I got married. Sandy's my second wife. I got married the first time, and I was young, and I had to buy another car, not a new car. But I remember my dad was 62 at the time, and he was a framer, so didn't have much money. So I went to buy the car, and he had to go something. I didn't have enough credit. I didn't have bad credit. Just didn't have enough credit to get the loan.
Right.
So we go to the bank, and the car is $3,600. I had a $400 car that I had sold and had $400, so I had $3,200. And my dad put $1,000 down on this car.
Wow.
And I didn't ask him. I wasn't thinking about it. What I found out a little bit later, he had $4,000 in the bank. 62 years old, had $4,000 in the bank. That was it. So think about taking 1/3 or 125% of your total cash position at age 62. And I go, I'm never that generous.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
that is a great example.
That's where I learned from.
Yeah.
And I never, and my mom they were just two really great people. And as I get older too, I realize that most people didn't have that advantage that I had.
Sure.
And so my issue is pay it forward.
Yeah, and you do.
You pay it forward.
You guys do it well. One last question I have for you,
okay.
And that is, what do you tell, someone young who is starting something? So you started a great company. You've started there's a new community here that we're gonna show, and that's kind of a cool new concept. Has some really cool features with it because it's like, y'all come up with you see these where you live there. There's retail there. There's all these different things that are happening in these same communities. So you've started things in different seasons of your life.
Right.
What do you tell someone who is young and they're trying to figure out, starting something. I want to lead something. I want to start a church. I want to start a company. I want to start being on staff, or I want to start this missions group, or I want to start this outreach. What is your advice on starting?
One thing, passion. Just passion. When I was a banker, I was passionate about being a banker. I had great employers that treated me very well. I gave them my 100% that I had. It was passion to me to get better. If the one piece of advice I hear from kids coming out of college, particularly, is like, I want to be an accountant or I want to be an engineer because I can make more money now. Don't worry about making more money. Then
good.
don't. But and I realized when I was 22, I wouldn't have heard that either. But one thing, every strong leader that I've ever seen in my life has been passionate. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether they run businesses, whether they're in divisions. They always rise to a higher level. They always rise to a higher level. So my advice is, if you decide you want to be if you want to be something at a church, if you don't wake up in the morning going, how do I get better at this? What do I do? Then do something else. If you want to be, because most of the world, it's churches, whether it's career, whatever it is, the people I know that are happy are passionate about their job. Yeah. And most people are not. And if you're looking for a career, that isn't just career. I'm passionate about my relationship with God.
Yeah,
it's simple. My relationship with God's very, very simple. I trust Him.
Right.
I trust Him. So it doesn't have to be complicated. And what I'm saying, you don't have to be this big time something or other, but just be happy with your life and don't dread going to work every day. If you do, go do something else quickly.
Quickly.
Give
everybody a break.
Yeah. I'm not saying you quit but each job, the two jobs that I left for starting my own company, I knew it was time for me to move on.
So you knew in your heart.
I knew it was like, this is not what.
Did you lose passion for it? Were you losing your passion?
No.
Or did you realize this is not my passion?
No, what I realized was I couldn't grow anymore.
So it was a lid.
So it was a lid. And they were great companies.
Sure.
But it was a lid. And I looked into the future of that company, and I said, it's not what I want to do. And then the second company was the same way. I couldn't grow to the next level, but that passion that I was good at gave me an opportunity for somebody to come get me. And I went from being a loan officer to head of the department at a new company because I was good at that. And I'm not smart. I'm not saying, I'm not dumb. I'm not playing for the country boy, but I don't have a high IQ. I just will outwork you.
Right.
I will just outwork you, and I will give my best level thoughts. So if you want to be successful, show up. Just show up first. Make sure you're consistent with. You can be absolutely trusted by your employer to do what you want, or your customers to do what you want. But be passionate, and goodness sake, if you don't like it, please move on. Do something else. I see passion in you. I see when you preach. I see the passion. I see the passion that you have, and I've given some few public speakers.
Right.
It's hard. I have such great admiration for great communicators that communicate not just with their words, but with their body, with their pauses of the emphasis. And but I could never be a public speaker.
Well,
That's not what, I could never do that.
I have such admiration for great leaders like
I
yourself.
appreciate
And so
that.
I appreciate you spending some time on Unscripted. Come on, Dwight Sandlin,
you.
Signature Homes, a good friend, and I'm
you, my
excited about all that God's doing. So thanks a lot for spending some time with me.
Thank you, sir. Let me tell you, my one piece of advice here's something that's really, really, really different. In ARC, that much I know about ARC, but ARC has one thing that is absolutely the best thing I've ever seen. In almost 1,100 churches, you've played in almost 1,100 churches.
1,100.
You've got experience in what they're doing. So if I'm coming to you as a pastor, or that I have this burden, I have this desire, follow your playbook. The one thing I know for certain is that y'all are very serious about this, and the propensity to be successful enhances 1,000% if they'll come to you and follow what your experience tells them. I think that's fabulous. I wish there was a business. I wish there was other business models that would do that for business people, because I had to learn. I had to learn a lot of this stuff myself.
Right.
And you guys, and the value that you guys create with that, of the number of people that you can help, it's 1,100 churches times however many people that you can affect. Yeah. It winds up being the millions of people.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
Gosh.
That's pretty cool.
That's a good way to say it.
Okay, my friend. Thank you.
Good
Thanks
way to
again.
say it. Hey, and a good endorsement from Dwight Sandlin from ARC. Did you get the endorsement on ARC from Dwight Sandlin? Come on, that's a big one.
It's a true. It is a true heartfelt thing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, we're so honored that you joined us on this episode here at Unscripted. If you're interested in learning more about planting a church or partnering with ARC, we'd love to get you connected. So visit our website at arcchurches.com for more information. Love to have you a part of this journey. So thanks again for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Unscripted.